Room auntie is saying no only. What was I saying? Something I was saying.
It is being minus ego is being objective to oneself.
Ah, correct. Yes, correct. Ego, objectivity is a practice. You learn to see things minus your ego. You learn to see things minus your ego. That's what objectivity is all about. Opposite of objectivity is involvement. And what is involvement? Everything is seen through the eye. Everything is seen through the eye. What I like, what I dislike, what I agree, what I disagree. Everything is seen through the eye is lack of objectivity. Objectivity means keeping aside your ego, your likes and dislikes, and seeing it. It's a practice. It won't naturally. You need to do a lot of practice to develop this. It will not come. It's not natural. What is objectivity? Objectivity is an understanding that the hindrance is you. The hindrance, that which stops your evolution is you, your own self. Your own self means what? The world remains the same, your attitude changes. One thing is you try to change the world. Another is you change your attitude. World remains the same. You change your attitude. What is you changing your attitude means? Sukham va yadiva dukkham atma atmopamyena. These are all change of attitude. World remains the same. You change your attitude, you become a yogi. Opposite of that is trying to change the world. How good it will be if both I do simultaneously. I change myself and try and change the world also. The yogi understands what? It is impossible. You can only change yourself. Able to follow? You can only change yourself. What about the others then? Compassion, love. What about the others then? That's why he says very beautifully, Atmau Pamyena, meaning you have an identification with others. We have an identification with others. So in relation to others, it is an identification. In relation to you internally, it's an attitudinal change. This is what the benefit of knowledge is. So what do you understand from this? The world remains the same and you change your attitude. Ignorance is, the ego is what? Ego tells you change the other. Okay, sir, I change myself, but 80% I can change, but 20% you have to agree that the others also have to change, no? Okay, in 90% I agree that I will change, but you should also agree that 10% the other also should change. Whatever percentage you want the other to change, to that extent your ego is nourishing itself. The yogi understands. Krishna is not asking you to become a yogi. He is saying yogi understands this. He is not saying become a yogi. Yogi understands this. What? To whatever extent the expectation is about the change of the external, to that extent the ego is getting nourished. And what is the indication of the nourished ego? Affected by sukham and dukkham. Affected by sukha and dukkha. Who is the a supreme yogi here? Objective and considerate. Is objective and considerate. Are you able to see? Oh, it is two seemingly opposite disciplines combined. Objectivity means a kind of detachment. Considerate, sympathy means a kind of involvement. So, who is a yogi? A yogi is objective and considerate. He is considerate as well as objective. Are you able to follow? Now, where does consideration come from? This is the beautiful, this is where the knowledge comes in. Where do you become? How do you become considerate? How do you become considerate? Based on this consideration, the concept of dharma is evolved. Based on this emotion, based on this aspect of consideration, empathy, identification is where the entire concept of dharma is evolved. How you want the other to treat you, you treat the other in the same way. That is dharma. How you want the other to treat you, treat the other in the same way. This is what consideration is. All dharma evolved out of this. Are you able to follow? All dharma evolved out of this basic notion, basic thing. Sorry, it's a wrong word to say notion. It's a wrong word to say notion. I used the wrong word. Out of this basic out of this basic fact of life, evolved all the concepts of dharma. If you want the other species not to hurt you, you don't hurt the other species. You hurt the other species, and you don't have no right to expect the others to hurt you. But sir, I am not hurting, but the other is hurting. It's against the law. It's against the law. Why? If you are not hurting, you cannot get hurt. Because you getting hurt is the choice that you have made to get hurt. World cannot hurt you. You allow the world to hurt you. Are you able to follow? The world cannot hurt you. You allow the world to hurt you. This is a supreme yogi. He is considered a supreme yogi. Why such a big preamble, introduction and all we are giving, seemingly unconnected to the verse is, next verse is going to be so beautiful verse. This preamble will be so useful to understand what is the next verses. Because in the next verse, Arjuna is going to demolish all that Krishna has told till now. He is going to demolish that. He is going to do that next verse. That's why such a, are you able to follow? See, considerate means what? Affectionate, sympathetic. Out of this idea of sympathy, compassion arose dharma. Again, I'm repeating. And what is dharma? What is the basis of dharma? Not right, wrong, good, bad. From what law everything evolved? What you expect the others should not do to you, what you do not want the others to do to you, what you don't expect the others to do to you, what you should do. You don't do that. You don't do that. It's as simple as that. Yogi, this is what is called sympathy. This is what is called, because he understands the pain in that. So what he does, he is very objective, he is very alert. That alertness is very sympathetic. In that alertness, there is a compassion. Are you able to follow? That alertness, there is a sympathy, there is a compassion, there is an affection. At the same time, objectivity also. So who is a supreme yogi? Objectively considerate. Are you able to follow? He's considerate, affectionate. At the same time, he is objective, affectionate and detached at the same time. That's what it means. He is loving and detached. Are you able to follow? He is loving and detached at the same time. Our problem is either I will love or I will get detached. I cannot do both together. Vedantic knowledge, a spiritual practitioner, one who is evolved can do this. One who is evolved can do this. Comes through practice, comes through training. Doesn't come naturally. It's not natural. If it is natural, why do we need all this lectures and all that? We'll be living it already. No. The fact that we are not living it means we are able to appreciate there is this possibility like that in the first place. At least we are able to appreciate that there is a possibility like this, and we are able to appreciate that how good life would be if a person were to live like this. To that extent, we are better. But again, we cannot stop here. We need to put more, we need to bring into this practice. What is the practice? What I don't want the others to do to me, I will not do to the other. Are you able to follow? Where does it start? From the other or from you? Or is it mutual? Ignorance says from the other. முதல்ல அவங்க பண்ணட்டும் சார், அப்புறமும் I will see. The ignorant from the other. இல்லையா? Half knowledge will say mutual சார், நானும் கொஞ்சம் வர அவங்களும், இல்லையா? Win-win situation, இல்லையா? I also give something, he also gives something. Win, ரெண்டு பேரும் பண்ணதான் சார் கரெக்டா இருக்கும். A yogi in the vision of Krishna, yogi in the vision of Vedanta has a completely different understanding. What is it? Dharma starts from you. And when you are dharmic, the world will return the courtesy. It's a law. The world will return the courtesy. When you are dharmic, the world returns the courtesy. Therefore, what happens is peaceful, is calm, unaffected. Such a person is called a supreme yogi. This is from one angle, yogi. From another angle, yogi means, yogi is one who has understood as, yogi is one who has understood what? The world doesn't need correction. It's I need correction. Are you able to follow? When I say I need correction, what is that I need correction? The way in which I see the world needs correction. What is the way in which I see the world? With the proper attitude, I have to see the world. That needs correction. So if I bring in the right attitude to see the world, Arjuna, he is considered a supreme. Are you able to follow? He is considered a supreme yogi. Test of unfoldment, this is. So from this, what do you understand? Anytime you are disturbed, affected, irritated, upset, what do you understand from this? Either your ego is nourishing itself. The ego is nourishing itself. Your attitude needs to be changed, corrected. Third, sympathy, identification, affection has to be more. You understand all this? Are you able to follow? So a yogi uses the mental affectation as a tool to identify as a tool for self-correction. What is the tool that he uses for self-correction? His own mental affectations, his own mental agitations, one's own mental agitations, one uses for one's correction. Because mental agitation arises when you see it with the wrong, when you see it with the wrong attitude, ego nourishing itself, you got to be more sympathetic. For the idea of to be more sympathetic, we discussed this, no? Happy and blessed are when wickedness stands forth revealed as goodness bereft of a guide. Happy and blessed are. You have reached a happy state. You have reached a blessed state when wickedness stands forth revealed. You see a wickedness, but how do you see that wickedness? When wickedness stands forth revealed as goodness bereft of a guide. You become affectionate, you become sympathetic. Are you able to follow? Lack of guidance, this person. You see a person, improper language. What do you understand? He's not trained in proper language, correct? So you will not get angry at that person for using improper language. You understand that person is not yet trained in proper language. The moment he is trained in proper language, he will not be in this manner. So that is how the sympathy. Ego nourishing itself through all actions. That you have to be very alert. That you have to be very alert to see how ego nourishes itself through all actions, maybe good actions or bad actions. And I say good and bad in a very loose sense. Whatsoever you can call as good, whatsoever you can call as bad, but the ego knows how to nourish itself. And Kathopanishad starts with this introduction. How ego nourishes itself through all actions is how Kathopanishad starts. Because Nachiketa's father does an yajna called Vishwajit Yajna. Vishwa means world, universe. Jit means conquering. So he is doing a prayer to conquer the world. Will any sane person do that? But he was doing an action. And Nachiketa saw that and went and told his father, it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. And fathers will not like to hear from the children, no? Isn't it? No father will like to hear from the children. And Nachiketa's father told Nachiketas, to Yama I give you, he said. To Yama I give you. So, what is that? The ego knows how to nourish itself through all actions. Even when it prostrates to God, the body is prostrating, but the ego is standing erect. The body is prostrating, but the ego is standing erect. The ego is not bending. Who is a supreme yogi? The ego is bent. The ego is bent. Objectivity. This is called objectivity. Awareness of how your ego is nourished through your actions. You are objective to that. So, who is a yogi now? Who is a supreme yogi? Who is an evolved person? Objectively affectionate, affectionately objective. You can say whatever way you can say that. Affectionately objective or objectively affectionate. Such a person is considered, mataha, considered as a supreme yogi. Considered by whom? This person is considered a wise person. Immediately what you should ask, considered by whom? Krishna is saying, considered by me. I consider such a person as a supreme yogi. In pleasure and pain, he is objective. Objective to oneself and considerate to others. Are you able to see now? With reference to others, he is considerate. With reference to oneself, it is objectivity. So when you see the pain in the other, you want to, there is an affection. There is a sympathy. There is an identification. Are you able to follow? Opposite of that is affectionate upon oneself and objective to the other. That is called selfishness. Are you able to follow? Objective to the other means doesn't matter what happens to the other. I don't care about what happens to the other. All that I'm interested is in my own happiness, my own welfare. This is called selfishness. What is spiritual growth? What is spiritual growth? What he calls as spiritual growth? Spiritual growth is you are considerate in relation to the pain of others and you are objective to your own self. Such a yogi is called Parama Yogi. Parama Yogi. He is not even calling it ordinary yogi. He is giving an adjective. He is called Paramo Yogi. Parama Yogi. Parama Yogi means, Parama means supreme. Yeah. Parama means supreme. So this person is called a supreme. This person is called a supreme yogi. A person who can identify, objective, has the knowledge and understanding that, alert to the fact that ego should not be nourished at any cost, at any situation. The ego should not be nourished. And what is the starting point of all this? The starting point of all this is an understanding. What? World doesn't need correction. It is my vision that needs correction. World doesn't need correction. It's my vision that needs correction. Vedanta doesn't try to correct the world. Vedanta changes your attitude. That's why it is impossible to popularize Vedanta. Why? All try பண்ணாலும் சரி. Yeah. இன்ஸ்டாகிராமில் போடலாம், ஃபேஸ்புக்கில் போடலாம். வெங்கட் ஞாபகப்படுத்துங்க, இன்ஸ்டாகிராம்லாம் போடணுமா? இல்லையா? நம்ம இன்ஸ்டாகிராம்லாம் வேறு போடணுமா? தெரியல, அது என்னவோ. யாருக்கெல்லாம் who doesn't have Instagram account, open an Instagram account now. Open an account and it cannot become popular at all. Why? Because it says world doesn't need correction. You need correction. Correction in what? Changing your attitude, changing the change of attitude. So a person who has done this is a supreme yogi. This is verse number 32. Yes.
I didn't understand what is being objective to oneself. How should you be objective to yourself? That's the first question.
How does one be objective to oneself? To become objective to oneself, repeatedly you need to understand. Repeatedly you have to tell yourself this. What? The ego nourishes. The constant attempt of the ego is to nourish itself. Even when it wants to, even when the ego wants to practice renunciation, through practicing renunciation also it wants to acquire something. It's such a tricky thing this ego is. Even when it is practicing renunciation, it wants to acquire something. What does it want to acquire? Nobody has renounced the way in which I have renounced. Are you able to follow? Nobody has practiced renunciation in the way that I am practicing. So, what is objectivity? Objectivity is an alertness. What is that alertness? How ego does nourish itself through all actions. Repeatedly, this is why manana is very much important. First, you have to understand this fact. A yogi is one who has understood all this and come to the highest stage. What is the starting point of practicing objectivity and understanding? What is understanding? Ego nourishes itself through all actions. Are you able to understand that? When the ego is nourished, what is the consequences of the nourished ego? நல்ல ஸ்ட்ராங்கா அலர்ட்டா அலைவா நல்ல கிரீனா இருக்கிற ஈகோனுடைய கான்சிக்வன்சஸ் என்ன? Agitations, depression, worry, anxiety. These are all the are you able to follow? These are all the indications of the ego being alive, nourished. So, whenever you experience these indications, what are the indications? Worry, anxiety, irritation. Add the 6 symptoms. We know those 6 symptoms. What are the 6 symptoms? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, Dvesha. When you have these six symptoms, you can understand and a symptomatic treatment first. You can deal with only the symptoms first. And then someday in future, we can get to the core. But initially, you can deal only with the symptoms. What are the symptoms? Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya, Dvesha is one system, one symptom. The other is the other is a further consequence of it. What is the further consequence of it? Worry, anxiety, depression, frustration, etc. Why all this happens? Because ego is a fight against the reality. Ego is a fight against the reality. What is the reality? Egolessness is the reality. Ego is nothing but a fight against the reality and a fight that it can never win. It's a losing battle. Yogi understands that and he stops the fight. Are you able to follow? Yogi understands this and he stops the fight. What is the fight? Ego is nothing but a hopeless, where for sure it is going to get defeated. What is it? What is the fight? It wants to believe that it is slightly better than the rest. That's what ego is. Are you able to follow? Ego na what is ego? I'm not going into the dictionary meaning nor a very scholarly definition. What is ego? A conviction that you are slightly better than everything around you. You are slightly better. Rombala illa, sir. I'm not such an egoistic person to say that no. But what you should realize is, what you should also accept, sir, is I am slightly better. Are you able to follow? And what is that slight better? That's Trivikrama. What is that slight better? That's what Trivikrama means. Vamana avatar. Trivikrama means Vamana avatar. Are you able to follow? That's slight better. See, I understand, sir. I understand that everybody in the family is contributing. I understand all that. But what you should agree, sir, is my contribution is slightly better than the others. Are you able to follow? What is ego? Are you okay till now? Technically, I am supreme. I alone exist. What is ego? I am supreme. I alone exist. I am the doer. This is ego. I am the doer. When I say I am the doer, worry and anxiety comes. What is the worry and anxiety? The result must happen in the way that I want. All that comes. Karma Yoga takes care of that. I am supreme. What is I am supreme? Slightly better. Nobody say I am supreme in the, nobody talks about like Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu is the extremity of this I am supreme, because he told everybody, he erected his own statues everywhere. No. He erected his own statues everywhere and told everybody that, yeah, you erect your own statue, you frame your own photograph, no, you are Hiranyakashipu Nartham. I'm not saying that. Purana stories are saying that. Yeah. You put your own wedding photograph also, na Hiranyakashipu Nartham. Why? Others must put it. Why you put your own photo? Are you able to follow? Yeah. But then you like to see your own reflection everywhere. No. You like to see your own photographs everywhere. You like to see your own reflections everywhere. The mirror house is the most enjoyable house, isn't it? Why mirror house is the most enjoyable house? Because you can see yourself. You can see yourself only everywhere. What? Able to follow? This is called I am free. I alone exist. And this is a fight against ego. Is a constant struggle. Ego is nothing but a futile, constant struggle. Yogi understands this, gives up this effort. Are you able to follow? Why it is a futile struggle? Why it is a futile struggle? It is futile because it doesn't take you anywhere positive. It doesn't take you anywhere positive. Ultimately, it will lead to, the ultimate result of ego is destruction. So what is objectivity? I'm answering objectivity. What is objectivity? Objectivity is an understanding how you destroy yourself. When you are alert that you are destroying yourself, when you understand that you are destroying yourself, you will be alert not to do that. Are you able to follow? You will be alert as to not to do that. So how does one practice objectivity? You cannot practice objectivity. First, you have to develop a conviction. In this verse, we are talking about the Paramayogi. So Paramayogi has done all that. So we start at a very high level in this verse. But if a person in the initial stages of a spiritual path, he cannot start practicing objectivity. First, he needs to develop a conviction. That person needs to develop a conviction first. What is a conviction? And this conviction leads to the practice of objectivity. What is the conviction that one needs to develop? World doesn't need correction. Who needs correction? I. Constant correction. Because the ego gains a backdoor entry. Why constant correction? Because the ego gains a backdoor entry. What is a backdoor entry? It knows how to nourish itself through any action. People in the world are all so materialistic, sir. They are not interested in their self-development at all. We are all interested in our self-development. We can become our ego can get nourished about the very fact of I wanting to grow. The ego can nourish itself through that action also. Therefore, How do you become alert to it? Are you able to follow? So in the initial stages, we don't worry about practice. The initial stages, we worry about develop a conviction. That's why manana is suggested. In the context of this verse, we are talking about Parama Yogi. Who is a Parama Yogi? One who has attained that supreme state. In order to glorify what is that supreme state, in order to explain what that supreme state is, certain things are told. Are you able to follow? Not for you to start practicing any of it. For you, what you have to practice? For you, what you have to practice? Very clear. Sravana, Manana, Karma, Bhakti. 2 pedals. Don't miss that. Don't miss that part. Don't miss that angle. All this is told so that your Sravana, Manana, Karma, Bhakti can be more motivated. Adukada. Are you able to follow? All this is told for what? So that your Sravana, Manana, Karma, Bhakti can be more motivated, can be more inspired. Are you able to follow? Therefore, to answer the question, how does one practice objectivity? Once you are convinced that you make yourself, you mar yourself. Once you are convinced about the fact, in every discourse, he repeats it at least 10 times. You make yourself or you mar yourself. When you say you make yourself or you mar yourself, when you are deeply ingrained in this conviction, then objectivity becomes possible. Are you able to follow? In the context of Parama Yogi, we don't discuss all this. Why? Because he has done all these and reached a very high level of growth. He has transcended all this and reached a very high level of growth. So to put it simply, in all trying situations, who is a Parama Yogi, a Jnani? He is objective. Identifying himself with others around. When you are objectively considerate, I don't know, what is the other thing? Whatever the other things, fill in the blanks. You become a Parama Yogi. Such a yogi becomes a Jivan Mukta. Such a yogi becomes a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means one who is liberated now. One who has attained the liberation now. In Atma Bodha, there is a beautiful example. Worldly knowledges are like moonlight. Vedantic knowledge is like sunlight, he says. And the moonlight becomes insignificant in front of the sunlight. Definitely in moonlight also you see something. But you don't get the clarity in the way that you see through sunlight. One. Second, worldly knowledges is like moonlight. Enna adukutha Shukla Paksha, Krishna Paksha la undu. Clear? Waxing and waning happens in moonlight. In sunlight, are you able to follow? The Paksha means waxing and waning. The moon increases, the moon decreases. No, the sunlight doesn't. In the sunlight, there is no such thing. That's the knowledge. That's a beautiful example. He brings in Atma Bodha to distinguish it. That's also knowledge. We are not saying it's not knowledge. It's also knowledge, but it is like the moonlight, and this knowledge is like the sunlight. Are you able to follow? What is that? Liberation, Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means liberated now. Liberation, not postponed for something, not postponed for future. Liberation, not going to happen sometime later. Something that's going to happen, something that will happen now. For a Paramayogi, it has happened. For us, we are saying it's going to happen. It will happen now. That's what we are saying from the standpoint of a person who's doing the sadhana. From the standpoint of the Paramayogi, from the standpoint of actually what Krishna is saying in this verse, it has already happened. It has already happened means he's talking about a Jivan. He's talking about a Jivan Mukta. Talking about a Jivan. Jivan. Now our dear friend Arjuna is going to enter. Next verse, Padinga.
Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana yetasyaham na pashyami chanchalatva stitim stiram. Arjuna uvacha yoyam yogastvaya proktaha samyena madhusudana yetasyaham na pashyami chanchalatva stitim stiram.
Arjuna said, this yoga of equanimity taught by you, O Madhusudana, I do not see its enduring stability owing to restlessness. This yoga of equanimity taught by you, O Madhusudana, I do not see its enduring stability owing to restlessness. What is he saying? Eka nalla irukudhu, practice lallam it will not work out, he is saying. Are you able to follow what he is saying? Beautiful. Arjuna is saying, all that you told till now, Krishna, is very nice to hear. It's wonderful to give it. It is wonderful when you are in the position of giving a discourse. It is wonderful to talk when you are in the position of giving a discourse, but impossible to do when you are in the position where you have to practice it. This is the liberality of this knowledge. After listening to all this, what all he has listened till now, he has listened to chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga. He has listened to Sthita Prajna. He has listened to Karma Yoga. He has listened to Yajna Karma. He has listened to Yajna Karma. And he has listened to Yogi, Sannyasi, Jnani. And then he has listened. Anashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyah sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyah. He has heard all that. After hearing all this, Arjuna is saying, what is he saying? This yoga of equanimity, this yoga of equanimity taught. Yoga of equanimity refers to all that he has been teaching from the beginning. All that he has been teaching from the beginning is what is referred to the yoga of equanimity. So he is asking, this yoga of equanimity taught by you, O Madhusudana. Madhusudana is the slayer of Madhu, the Rakshasa. I see not. I see not means Aham na pashyami. Aham na pashyami. Aham na pashyami means I am not able to see how it can be achieved. Why? Why he says, I feel that it cannot be achieved. Why he feels it cannot be achieved? Owing to restlessness. Vikshepa, the preoccupation of the mind, Krishna. The preoccupation of the mind. Connected to the preamble that we have been discussing till now. The ego is so strong. The ego is so strong. The ignorance is so strong. The conviction is so strong. What? It is the world that needs, it is the world that needs change. It is the world that needs correction. It is the world that it's so when he's saying something exactly the opposite, Arjuna is confused. What is the confusion? On the one hand, you said Astira Chanchala. Already he said it. Previously, Krishna only said it is Astira and Chanchala. And now he is saying, how can this Astira, Chanchala can be controlled? One. Second, he is the same Shastra that equates it to fire, insatiable as fire. How can that be quenched? Satiety is impossible for the mind. It has been told already. How is it possible, Krishna? How is it possible? The Samatva Darshanam. Are you able to follow? The Samatva Darshanam, vision of sameness, all this I don't think it can happen at all. That's what he's saying. You are glorifying the Samatvam. Samam Pashyati Sarvatra, he says. Atmanye Atmana Tush, whatever be it. All that he has said already. And now he's saying this fickle, distracted, preoccupied mind. This fickle, distracted, preoccupied mind. How this fickle, preoccupied, distracted mind can be made to focus on anything? Forget about meditation. It's not even, we have not even come to the level of meditation. How can this fickle, distracted, preoccupied mind be made to do this? And Krishna must be smiling at this question of, Arjuna. Why he'll be smiling? Because he can say something more deeper. He can say something more. Every question makes it more and more deeper. 4 characteristics of mind. The person who has known these 4 characteristics of the mind asks this question. What are the 4 characteristics of the mind? Chanchalam, Pramati, Balavat, Dridam. 4 characteristics of mind. Arjuna is carefully following what Krishna is saying. One quality of the mind, every time he listens to one quality, the impossibility is becoming evident. For us, it looks so possible. For us, it looks so simple, straightforward, because for us it looks very easy. For us, it looks very easy. For it looks very simple, very straightforward. Why? Because we are not following the 4 characteristics. And what are the 4 characteristics of the mind? First thing is chanchalam. Chanchalam means fickle, changing all the time, unsteady. That's why we say mind is movement, changing. Emotions. Motion comes from the root motion, which keeps changing. Therefore, any decisions you make out of emotion, you are bound to change later. Doesn't matter. Whatsoever you make, doesn't matter. All decisions made out of emotions are bound to change. Why? Because when emotions change, the decisions also will change. Are you able to follow? Why? Because it is the first characteristic of the mind is chanchalam, fickle. Second characteristic of the mind is pramati, turbulent. Turbulent means churns. Balavat, strong, not available for control. Yes. Pampered so much that any attempt to control becomes a failure. Why? Because it has been pampered so much. Balavat. The fourth one is dridam, attachment. Holds to objects and beings firmly. Attachment. If you know these are the characteristics of the mind, you will understand what Arjuna's question is. Such a beautiful question that he had asked. Are you able to follow? The 4 characteristics. What are the 4 characteristics? Chanchalam, Mati, Balavat, Dridam. When you yourself has said these are the characteristics of the mind, and you are asking, and you are glorifying the person who has transcended all that, and all that you are saying is impractical also. So why are you giving me a discourse about that which cannot be practiced? That's what he's asking. Are you able to follow? Talk something that can be practiced, Krishna. All along you are talking about something that cannot be practiced. Why? Because maybe Arjuna must have attempted sometime in the past all this. Now he's saying, no. How can such a mind ever attain stability? Beautiful. The definition of the mind comes. I told you when we got into this portion that all the concepts, all the understanding of human mind comes from this particular portion. And it is a complete portion, a complete understanding of what the human mind is. If the question is extraordinary, the answer is going to be, the answer is much more extraordinary. Yeah, but the answer we are not getting into today. We are only discussing the question, and we'll continue with the question next week also. Because I only gave the definitions. And these aspects of the mind has to be understood in, these aspects of the mind has to be understood in detail. If you do not understand this mind, you will never know what you are doing. You can never practice anything because you do not know what you are. You have no clue to what you are trying to handle. Able to follow? You have no clue to what you are handling, and you will never know the effort required for that. And you will never know the amount of effort required for that. Fickle. First thing, fickle. Means changing all the time, emotions. You would have observed all decisions are based on emotions. More emotional you get, more you will say, I know what I am doing. Are you able to follow? That's why anybody comes and says, I know what I am doing. I don't laugh, but I feel like laughing. Why? Because 2 years later, they are going to do exactly the opposite and say, I know what I am doing. Say, "Arey, how can you say that? 2 years back, you said exactly the same thing. Now you, no, no, no. Mind conveniently forgets that. That's why decision making is such a critical factor in life. Are you able to follow? Decision making is such a critical factor in life because it should not be based on emotions. And all decisions, if not all, most of the decisions we do is based on emotions. And any decision that you take based on emotion, you will necessarily, what you will do? There cannot be a continuity, there cannot be a consistency. You are bound to change. You are bound to change. Why? Because chanchalam, fickle. Follow? Fickle. 2 years back, it was holding on to something. 10 years back, it was holding on to something else. Now it is holding on to something. 5 years later, it will hold on to something else. But the fickle mind will not agree to this. The fickle mind will not accept this. The fickle mind will say, what does the fickle mind say? I know what I am doing. Second quality of the mind, pramati, turbulent. See, when it is turbulent, it affects the senses, it affects the body. That's why you go to doctor, they will say you are stressed. Any disease, they will say you are stressed. Why? When it is pramati, turbulent, it affects the, not only it affects itself, it affects the body, the senses. Because it's constantly churning, no? Pramati. Balavat. Balavat means strong. Not available for control. The last thing is dridam. It holds on to objects firmly. It holds on to objects firmly. We'll continue the discussion. We are not concluding. We'll continue with the same verse next week. The verse 33. In fact, two verses, 33 and 34. In fact, two verses, 33 and 34. When he asks these questions, and then comes Krishna's answer. Again, the fickle-minded nature of Arjuna becomes visible. In 39, he will ask, okay, Krishna, if I die halfway through, what will happen? Okay, I'm trying to do all this, I'm practicing all this, okay, I'm willing to put in the effort. Yeah. உங்களை நம்பி ஆத்துல இறங்குற இல்லையா? Yeah. Trusting you, I'm getting into this, I'm plunging into this. What will happen if I die? Because there's no guarantee that I will be alive till I become a Jivan Mukta. What will happen if I die halfway through? What will happen if I die halfway through? Another beautiful answer. Another beautiful answer. So, Arjuna's question. What was Arjuna's question? Samam pashyati sarvatra. This Sankhya. Start from chapter 2. To understand this question of Arjuna, you need to refer from chapter 2. Verse 11, chapter 2 length, you have to understand. Where he spoke about Sankhya Yoga, Nasato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate satah. He spoke about Sankhya Yoga. And then Karmanyevadhikaraste mapuleshu kadachana. And then the Sthita Prajna. And then the Karma Yoga in chapter 3. And then 12 Yajnas in chapter 4. And then the glory of what sannyas is, etc. in chapter 5. Yogi, sannyasi, jnani, the grades, And then in chapter 6, Ashrita karma palam karyam karma karotiyah sa sannyasi cha yogi cha na niragnir na chakriyaha. That, and then he spoke about meditation. Actually, he never spoke anything about meditation at all. He only said, find a comfortable seat, don't fall off to sleep. That's all he said about meditation. Nothing else he said anything. Nothing else he spoke about meditation. You will see the blue color, you will see the white color, you will nothing like that he spoke. Yeah. He only said, don't sit in a very high seat. Why? Why don't sit in a very high seat? If you have meditated, you will understand all this. See, meditation is absolute state of relaxation. When the muscles are absolutely relaxed, you will fall off. Imagine when you are meditating from a 3 feet height. What will happen if you fall off? Yeah. After 3 weeks, you will not even sit. Therefore, he said, not too high, not too low. You know why he said all that? Because all has a meaning. Huh? All has a meaning. Other than that, he never spoke anything about meditation. And again, he went on to samam pashyati sarvatra, etc., etc., etc. And Krishna would have taken a break. Actually, he didn't take a break. Arjuna asked this question. What is the question? From the angle of the preacher, it is easy, Krishna. Solradhu romba easy. But I don't see its enduring stability. What is enduring stability? The stability of your knowledge that you have given me, Krishna, I don't see it being stable at all. The knowledge that you have given me, I don't see it being stable because it is just wavering, moving. Therefore, what is he concluding? Practically, say something that can be practiced. You listen to Krishna's answer, you will get more angry with Krishna. As you study more and more Bhagavad Gita, you will become very affectionate and sympathetic to Arjuna, and extreme anger and frustration with Krishna. One good practical, you don't, not even one practical thing you give. This is verse number 33, and we continue with verse number 33 onwards in the next.
Questions by Venkatachalam, then Mala.
Ego in Vedanta. Yeah, Venkatachalam. Ego in Vedanta is a far wider concept relative to common worldly understanding. Most of an individual's thought flow may be ego related. Venkatachalam. All thought flow is ego related.
Oh, okay. That's what I want.
Not
so
only
anything.
most. All thought is ego related because it all starts with the I first, no? So all thought flow is ego related only, not only most. Except the Aham Brahmasmi. Except that Aham Brahmasmi, rest are all ego related only. The difference, yeah, the degree varies. That's it. The degree varies, but it's all ego only. Degree not a big difference. Degree means, again, it's not a big difference in degree. Little bit here and there. That's all. Good ego is a slightly better ego than a bad ego. It's a very slight difference. Not a big, it's not a major difference. Therefore, ego in Vedanta is entirely different in the way that the word ego is used. In fact, in the worldly sense, they say ego is a must. In the worldly sense, they will say ego is a must. For without ego, you cannot. Egolessness is not an achievement as far as the worldly transactions are concerned. Egolessness is an absolute necessity for self-transformation. Are you able to see the difference? That's why it's two different knowledges. You can't combine both. As far as the world is concerned, egolessness is not a virtue. As far as worldly knowledges are concerned, you have to be firm, you have to speak your voice, you have to establish yourself, you need to stand over the other, you need to put, I don't know what all it is. So all worldly things arises from the ego. Self-development, worldly actions nourishes the ego. Vedanta dilutes the ego. How can they be the, you can't nourish and dilute at the same time. Are you able to follow? You can't nourish it and dilute it. That's why it's not at all working, because morning 5 to 6, we dilute it. And then the whole day, we nourish it. Again, next day, we sit and next day we sit and we try to. So after a period of time, we will be like Krishna talking, like Arjuna talking. It is two different entities altogether. As far as the worldly things are concerned, they say self-respect, self-pride. Yeah, some self-respect is needed, no sir. Some it doesn't matter, whatever word you can use. All that means is ego. Are you okay, Venkatachalam?
One more by Venkatachalam. He has posted.
Yeah, posted. Okay. Does ego serve any positive purpose at all? No. In the worldly sense, yes. In the spiritual sense, no. In the worldly sense, yes. It does serve some purpose. What is the purpose? You feel like you have achieved something. You feel like ego means number one. What is ego? What is ego? Number one. That's what ego, no? Ego equals becoming number one. So, if you want to become number one, ego. But the reality of life is there is no such thing as number one. Why? Because there is no such thing. No, why there is no such thing as number one. Okay, you become the richest person, number one. What happens? Yeah, very soon somebody is going to become number one. No, there were so many number ones in the past. What happened to all of them? What happened to the current number one? Yeah. Okay. ஒரு வருஷம் Forbes magazine front pageல cover pageல photo வரும் அவ்வளவுதான். அதுக்கு மேல nothing much happens. Forbes magazine கரெக்ட்டா நான் சொல்ற பேரு? Forbes magazine தான அது. Your photograph will come in the front page of the Forbes magazine. So what is ego? Ego means becoming number one. In order to become number one, you have to stamp over the other. எல்லாரும் சேர்ந்து number one ஆகலாம். That is not possible. Let everybody become number one. Then number one becomes so. Then number one itself becomes meaningless. Are you able to follow? Venkatachalam. Ego. Now, what is ego? At least வீட்லயாவது சொன்ன பேச்சை கேட்கணும் சார் யாராவது இல்லையா? At least 1%, sir. At least the dog in my house. At least the mosquito in my house. Somebody, at least 1% at the ego. From 1, it will go to 2. From 2, it will go to, there are 3, arithmetic proportion, geometric proportion, and what is the third one? There's the third one also. Arithmetic proportion, geometric proportion, and then what is the third one? Ego is that. Ego is the third proportion. That's type பண்ணுங்க யாராவது. Exponential, correct. Raghavan, correct. Exponential. Correct. Arithmetic progression, geometric progression, and then there is other exponential. அது எப்படி ஆகுன்றதுக்கு ஒரு சீக்வென்ஸே கிடையாது. It will just become exactly like Okay, coronavirus is exponential. No, that's why they're not able to predict it. Geometrical, arithmetic progression, geometric progression, you can predict. Exponential, you cannot. But you know that it is growing. Ego is like that. First, it will ask for one person and it will not be satisfied with that one. It will want to go to 2. From 2, it will want to go to 40. From 40, it will want to go to 4,000. I don't know. It keeps. Is it okay, Venkatachalam? Did I answer you? Ego is number one. Ego means pay attention to me all the time. Adda ego. What is ego? What is ego? Huh? Begging and doing Sashtang Namaskar to everybody. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. And more you go and beg and ask people, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, what happens? Ego constantly is neglected. Ego is rejected because it begs for attention. What is ego? Begging for attention. Another ego is elsewhere is going to say ego is a beggar. Other than a positive beggar. Ego nale beggar. Is there any positive beggar? Beggar, avladhan. Yeah. 3-piece suit and kodna positive beggar, torn clothes na negative beggar. Abdi vena vechikalam. Are you able to follow, Venkatachalam? Ego means wanting to become number one. Ego means constantly begging. Begging for what? Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And if you don't pay attention, I will commit
suicide.
Correct. In the age
So without removing or without annihilating the ego, yes, we can never realize our true nature.
Impossible. Correct. Impossible.
That stands in the way.
Yes, it's the ego that stands. It's the ego. So what is ego? Put it very simply. Number one, begging for
attention.
Begging for attention. Pleading, begging. Is it okay, Venkatachalam? Yeah. Mala Venkatesan. But Krishna could have said so many things. Yeah, I don't know what all we want him to say. But Krishna could have said many things he could have said. The detailed procedure of meditation, etc., in an addendum, and asked us to refer in Gita itself. Krishna, no master worth the name who is interested in a revolution will talk about meditation. Any master who is interested in your welfare will not talk about meditation. Full stop. Krishna will not talk about meditation. Upanishads will not talk about meditation. Nobody who has an ounce of affection for you will not talk about meditation. Full stop. Therefore, Krishna doesn't talk about meditation. Are you okay, Ma?
Why is that?
Affection, because you do not know how.
Why is that?
You do not know what you are doing when you are sitting and doing meditating. You do not know how you are hurting yourself. Why will they give a practice to hurt yourself? Nobody needs to be taught to meditate. When you reach that level, you will become meditative. There is no need to tell a person what is meditation, what he should see, what he should not see. All that is not meditation. See, in the current day context, it is impossible to agree to what Krishna is saying. In the current day context, it is impossible for any one of us to agree to what Krishna is saying or even what Swamiji is saying. Why? Because we are all so convinced about meditation. இந்த கிளாஸ் முடிக்கும் போது கூட கொஞ்ச நேரம் மெடிடேட் பண்ணலாமா சார்? We are all so, you take us to one height class. And then if we sit in meditation, Abdiya Brahman, we will catch up. People asked me, can we do this in this class? I said, Madhula, na meditate panna try pandren. Then I will come and teach. When I myself can't meditate, what meditation I am going to teach you? Are you able to follow? The principle is this, Mala. Any master who has an ounce of genuine affection in your welfare will not talk about meditation. 701 verses, not a word he spoke about meditation. You take Upanishads, not a single word about meditation. You take Brahma Sutras, not a single word about meditation. You take the Bhakti Shastras, you take the Bhakti cult, not a word about meditation. But then we are all very convinced about what America does. Correct? What America does is the standard, not Krishna, not Upanishad, not Brahma Sutra, not Vedanta. So when America meditates, that becomes a standard for the whole world too. Therefore, Krishna will not talk about meditation. No master for that matter will talk about meditation. In fact, they will stop you from practicing meditation. They will tell you do not. They will tell you do not meditate. Why? Because adhikaritvam is needed. Adhikaritvam, you have to be a qualified person to meditate. You don't give practices to those who are not qualified. Therefore, Krishna, not only Krishna, you can refer the Upanishads, you can refer the Gita, you can refer the Brahma Sutras, you can refer the any Shastras. Nowhere they will talk about meditation as a practice in the way that people are talking about it now. It will not be practiced. It will not be discussed at all. Is it okay, Mala? Yeah. Harmonic progression. Yaradhu?
Chalam.
Chalam da.
BNS Chalam.
Harmonic progression. I don't know what is that harmonic progression.
Maths में वार्ता करें sir.
Correct. Yeah. Harmonic progression. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe in the modern day context they are saying something, but I don't know. Enga maths teacher எனக்கு 3 தான் சொல்லி கொடுத்தாரு. Arithmetic, geometric, exponential. Harmonic progression, I don't know. I can give some meaning. I can give some meaning. I know. But then in the context of it doesn't. With this, we conclude for today and we continue with the discussion of verse 33 onwards. Continue with verse 33.